Welcome back to the Live Lounge, everyone. And there they are, our guests for the evening, Mr. Peter Citera and Anthony Eugenia from the CDC. Gentlemen, what a weekend you've both had at Cross-Border Challenge. First of all, how are you both?
Hey, Phil, great to be with you. Doing fantastic, a little tired from the weekend, but certainly I think we did some good things.
Hey, boys, good to be with you. Yeah, and I'm flat out exhausted.
We don't let you have a break. Sorry, straight back on. We get you straight on this show as soon as you've done the hard work over the weekend.
Oh, Lord.
The media schedule is getting difficult.
Welcome to my world. No, look, first of all, a fantastic tournament from our point of view. We loved it. It was great for the first time to be able to watch everything. There it is.
Cross-border, baby.
Look, I know we've spoken for a year, 18 months about being able to watch more of your stuff, so it was great to be able to watch every tie of Cross-Border, gents.
Thank you. Just heard the lead up, and we were thrilled that the team component actually added something to it. As you know, the Canadians really made a statement, I think, over this weekend on a lot of levels.
Yeah, look, they were absolutely superb. Oh, Peter, you've muted yourself.
First time ever, Peter Citera muted.
Everybody here's happy about that. No, I actually had a technical issue with my headset that I was trying to resolve, so apologies for that. But I just chimed in and basically said, yeah, the Canadians were, I don't want to say unexpected. There was nothing unexpected, but certainly when it's that much of a dominating performance, you kind of take a step back and go, wow, who'd have thought that?
Yeah, look, especially going into a hostile atmosphere as well. New Jersey, we heard the Let's Go USA and everything like that around, but they didn't have a lot to cheer about, unfortunately.
No, that's for sure. And to be fair, New Jersey's a hostile atmosphere to people not from New Jersey. So,
look, from your guys' point of view, this was the first major event that you'd hosted where you'd sold tickets and it was on TV for everyone to watch. So I know it's only the dust has only just settled. What's the initial feedback been from both players and fans and everyone?
Peter?
The players loved it. It was fantastic in their eyes. The atmosphere was electric. It was the best crowd we've seen in North America in a long time, if not ever, in terms of just a North American event. We have sold tickets in the past. Our Continental Cup has been a ticketed event for the past 2 or 3 times we've offered it, but that wasn't the proper venue that this was. And so, you're in a proper venue, you provide gravitas, and that was the word that was kind of thrown around. Like you walk into that room and you just feel the history of it, and it was set up perfect for darts, and the sound was great, and the crowd was into it, and so it was exactly what you want to showcase the sport we all love. I think it was a little bit, I think some of you may have heard me say this in a video I put out on Facebook. From a stream perspective, I think it was a little bit less than we wanted it to be. I don't want to touch on that any more than I already have, but we'll definitely improve that next time round. But we started off with a couple of struggles by Saturday evening. Certainly most of those were resolved, and then we got hit with lightning and a bunch of other stuff. But it was overall, it was a fantastic event, and I think no matter how you consumed it, you could certainly appreciate the magnitude of what we did.
And just Phil mentioned there around the fan sort of feedback, and generally across social media, it seemed to be a very good reaction from a player's perspective, because we all know that the players like to air their views as well, whether on social media or face to face. How's the players reacted to the tournament? Has that gone down as well?
The players exceeded my expectations on the way they received everything. We tried some innovative things where I don't know if you had a sense of the facility. There was a balcony area that we were able to. We gave the players access to half of the balcony. There was a practice area there, and then a seating area for themselves and the guests, so they could interact with the fans. And the players simply loved it. They love to be able to practice in the same environment to sort of get that event feel as they're warming up and get themselves ready mentally. And then a lot of them had a lot of fun looking over the balcony, interacting with the fans when some fans on the floor caught wind that they were up there, they would chant their names and they'd be able to look over. So all of those cool little boxes that you want to tick to help North American players start to feel like the stars that we want them to get to, take pictures, sign autographs, have your name chanted. So that was fantastic. And the players enjoyed the facility, the feel of it, the look. So coming out of it, they were very happy and very encouraged on those strides that were made. Fans as well in the room. I think the fans were vocal. We cannot say enough good things about the people that were in the room.
Sorry, just we were able to actually interact with them more than I think we have in the past. There were giveaways. Players had brought some stuff to give away, so we were consistently trying to involve the fans and trying to keep them, entertained and make sure they left feeling appreciated. And I think we definitely did that.
And they carried the day. They really did.
Yeah.
I mean, they initiated a lot of interaction. I was most impressed when we did have an outside sort of technical issue that put down the lighting on stage. The fans started singing unprompted on their own. And I thought to myself, that's a gain right there, to have an North American audience sort of be hip enough to sort of like, let's keep ourselves entertained. And then that's the point that if we can, turn the corner on that and not look back, that's when we can have successful events that the outside community says, that's a lot of fun and I want to be involved in it.
Look, that's great to hear. And the whole thing is just moving forward so well. But me being me, is this the first taste of what we're going to get? Because now that we've seen it once, are we going to get things like a stream board on your tour events and things like this?
Well, in fairness, we have had stream board. We try to stream every tour event to some level, right? 5, 6, 7 matches. We'll continue to do that, no doubt. If you're talking about will the stream, the regular tour matches kind of have a live audience, no, that's not in the current plan. But I can guarantee you that we'll be thinking behind the scenes. Anthony and I will be chatting about ways that we can replicate this, right? Does the Continental Cup go to New Jersey? If we can make it work, there's obviously other considerations, right? It's not just everybody had a great time. It's got to work financially. It's got to work, with the schedule of the venue. But certainly, yes, we're thinking of ways that we can replicate this. There's no doubt about that.
Now we've got all the boys. All the boys are here. All right.
On the New Jersey bit and just being East Coast based, is that a decision that you've kind of made off the back of last year's North American Championships and the US Darts Masters? Because it just seemed to really boom there from June last year. Is that kind of a decision that you've made, that's the best place for the CDC at the moment?
Pete?
I saw you raise your hand, but you're going to toss that over to me.
Well, no. I mean, not. I hope it doesn't sound self-serving. A lot of it has to do with me being part of the company, being born and raised in New York City, having built relationships and trust and structure in New York. That's how we landed with the Continental Cup in New York City in 2019. We had brought it to a couple other places of the country. Great areas, great people. We just didn't seem to get the attendance support that we were looking to make that move with, to turn a great darts product and a great visual product into a great attendance product. So over time, we've acquired a good amount of members that are on staff from the New York metropolitan area, whether it be New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, what have you. So we were confident that we could bring an event in and get some attendance, and the New York area hasn't let us down. 2019 was a good first step. We were very proud of that. True ticketed event with a good lively crowd, and then we've returned since with the Continental Cup. The event at MSG certainly hasn't hurt. That actually obviously complemented what we're trying to do to make that this area is a hotbed for not only darts activity but darts fandom, if you will. Being in that area, you can draw from Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, Boston.
Yeah, the geography. I was about to chime in and say the geography just works as well. It's the probably the most compact presence of massive dart fans that we have, or certainly players that we have in the country, or indeed on the continent. It was really interesting. I'll mention this, that in the house we had a bunch of fans that were not darts fans. Like they might play casually. Some of them never thrown a dart before in their lives. They heard how interesting this was going to be, and they managed to find their way there. And so, that's always been the key. I think you've heard me and Anthony also have talked about how we need, if we're gonna get to where all of us want to be, right? All of us here, the PDC, if we're gonna get to where all of us want to be, we've got to get into the collective consciousness of the non-darts enthusiast, and there's a big step towards doing that.
Yeah, I completely agree. Moving forward, obviously a lot of talk amongst the players was that qualifying spot for Madison Square Garden, but the tournament itself, the North American Darts Championship, how excited are you to be back there this year to see if Leonard Gates can defend his title and the standard going up as always? How excited are you for June?
I mean, how can you not be excited to have darts at the most iconic sports venue, arguably the most iconic sports venue in the country, right? There's nothing that can equal that if you're a darts freak, like I think everyone here is, right? I think it's going to be interesting to see the tickets. Certainly, ticketing, the economics are different today than they were last year. You're feeling that on your side of the pond. We're feeling it here. Anytime inflation and it comes into play, it stretches the entertainment dollars. So, we're going to have to see how ticketing is. I hope it's going to equal last year. I think it certainly could. So, we'll try to pack the place and get people out there. What's going to help is the amount of great press it got last year, right? Oh man, this is a fantastic event, man. You can't miss. It's going to be back next year. So there's a lot of positive buzz about it, and now it's just got to translate into getting butts in seats that might not have been there last year.
And we certainly hope everything will piggyback off of that, I can't speak moment, because that, yes, as we know, was all over social media. That helped us. It helped everybody in darts, but it should certainly have a positive effect,
no doubt,
on attendance at the Masters.
That was going to be my question. Obviously, the crossover into someone as big as Ariel is, and getting Michael Smith, and are you seeing a bigger uptake of casual fans now, people that aren't traditionally involved in the sport, going, actually, this is pretty entertaining?
It's funny. Two of the people that I spoke with, I was trying to interact with the crowd as much as I could, and I went up to a table. They were just having a great time, right? And I said, "Hey, how did you guys hear about this? Do you play darts?" "No, but we're big MMA fans, and we saw Ariel Helwani tweet about it, and so we had to come down and do it." And basically, they've said similar things to what we believe, is that the fan bases for darts, MMA, minor league baseball, minor league hockey, those are very similar fan bases, right? You're trying to get the same type of person, the same type of fan. So it's nice to see that validated.
Yeah, in its context, the numbers weren't massive, but that people were there, right, was a gain. That there were non-dart players, casual sports fans in the area we were at in New Jersey. Very young demographic, very much just an out for the weekend entertainment kind of demographic in the area. We drew some of those fans in from support and associations with local pubs. So strides were made in that, and people just coming simply to have a good night's entertainment.
How do you compete with this vast number, like Pete, you said about how many other sports it compares with? How do you go about competing with the bigger sports in America? Because in the UK and a lot of Europe, we have football, we have cricket, we have rugby. That's it. And the cricket and rugby are pretty seasonal. Football or soccer is just massive. But other than that, things like hockey and basketball are incredibly minor over here. There's people in the chat that can even name you an English basketball team or an English ice hockey team, whereas you've got the big four sports to compete with, soccer's growing and everything else. I mean, there's millions of channels in the US, but how do you bid for that airtime, I guess, is the extension.
So I think you have to define your market more over here, and our market really isn't to compete. I mean, if we're competing with the NFL, Jack, we're losing.
Well, that was my answer. I didn't want it to sound negative, but my answer was you don't. You know, you just that's going to be what it is, and try and then find your next level, your niche area where you just appeal to people on the sporting nature, but the entertainment nature of it as well.
Exactly. You're 100% right, and really comes down to value, right? It comes down to providing the best entertainment value at the right price. It is prohibitively expensive for a working class family to go to an NFL game. It's to go to an NBA game. To some extent, even to go to a baseball game these days. We're not prohibitively expensive. You could have gotten into that event this past weekend for a great seat with a VIP, right, for just over $100. If you didn't want the VIP, under $100, and get 2 days of fantastic entertainment. So we're trying to find that value proposition, finding the passion, right? The MMA people are passionate, darts people are passionate, finding people that are passionate about something, channeling that passion, and giving them the value that they're looking for.
Also, I'm guessing what's helped is the fact that your marquee players have really stepped up over the last year as well. We've seen David Cameron and Leonard Gates winning on the seniors, Soldier going to Ali Pali, winning his first round game and electrifying the place. So your flagship players almost as well have done you proud, which must be satisfying and also something to build off of as well.
It sounds like you had a microphone in the hotel bar on Wednesday, as a lot of us congregated and sort of took an assessment on what's gone on here in North America over the last 5 years, maybe to be honest, you know, to be fair about it, and that's what the conversation was about, was the consistency of performances. They're not always great, but they're at least start to be strung together, that, you know, one player doesn't go out and put up a 94 average and then never does it again. At least if they're in matches numerous times, like you said, we've seen Lauby and Gates and Cameron and Baggish and Campbell. And I'm getting to the second item by doing those names, you know, put up numbers that even if they're not in victories, they're solid enough numbers to be taken seriously. And then the second point is the amount of players over time in both countries and in North America. Like, you know, you've got 1 or 2 players, maybe 3 at any given time, to be able to comfortably just roll off 6, 8, possibly even 10 names that, you know, with Jacob Taylor and Alex Spellman now impressing people at Modus, you know, that we can name you 8 to 10 players that an international audience would be interested to see. That those items to me speaks volume on where it's progressed.
No doubt, and looking at the averages, you know, it's interesting the change in conversation now versus where we were when we started, right? Some of the averages in the first round, I mean, it was a new venue for everybody. You know, there's a level of jitters, there's a, you know, magnitude, and so, you know, some of the averages were not where I think a lot of the fans would have expected them to be in that first round, and it's just a testament to the fact that everything is new to the player, right? But 5 years ago, we're looking at these averages going, man, those are pretty decent averages. Now we're looking at those averages going, man, they're, you know, these guys, we know they can do so much better. And as you got into the later rounds, certainly you saw the averages go up just as you'd expect.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. I remember this morning just kind of trying to get an assessment, because I as you work in the event, sometimes you don't actually see what's going on in and out of the event as you're trying to do production things. And that's what I looked at. A lot of high 80s averages where we would have felt that was a lot of gains, but the players have set us up recently to say, well, that's not great. But in terms of where we've talked about as a continent, those are pretty good progressive numbers, and we know the players have the aptitude to bump that up. Which now, to sort of like bring it full circle about Phil, you're asking about the excitement about New York, is, you know, those names and those numbers and all that stuff is why we are so thankful and blessed and excited, particularly about that North American Championship, that as a continent we get a chance to have 8 players on their own get showcased on a brilliant platform, and that makes it, you know, for us here, really exciting to see the possibilities of what goes on in that event.
Go on, Gob.
I was like, does the drive to produce those players come at a little bit of a trade-off now? Because you're one of the first organisations that are a PDC affiliate that mean if they're a tour card holder, they won't be able to play in the floor event. So it's brilliant for growing and getting eyes on your side of the game. But if you lose 6 players next year to go and be a tour card holder, does that make what you're trying to do within the United States that little bit more difficult because you don't have those star name attractions?
Jack, at the end of the day, I don't think so. We need to be able to create that pipeline. And sometimes in order for somebody else to come up and shine, they need the person that's in front of them to progress to the next thing, right? And that's true in darts, it's true in just in organizations in general. Would I lie to you if I said that if we lost 5 of our players, that wouldn't hurt? Or, no, of course that's not, that it would hurt in the average sense, in the fan sense, right at the beginning. But I think that the point that we're doing, we're creating this kind of conveyor belt, if you will, of development. And I had some hand in helping to draft that rule that you saw the PDC release. At the end of the day, I think it's the right thing. It's not an automatic ban, right? The first year, if you're in your 2-year tour card, you're able to play without restriction. The second year, you're able to play unless you're in the top 64. So you're really not severing the tie for somebody who really gets their card. And I was like, oh my God, what do I do? It's a total, as you know, you live there. It's a totally different world going over here from here to there full time. And so I think they did it the right way.
We've got a few from the chat room before we come back to you as well. Craig says, would you guys like to have more qualifying spots for the World Championships?
That's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Triple, quadruple the numbers. Wave a magic wand. Hoorah! But certainly, and as those opportunities might be presented, we take it as a compliment to everybody involved, from the organization to the player to the fans, because all of it, if it all starts to come together, then it becomes compelling and it becomes necessary to give the area more attention.
Got a huge compliment from Tommy here. Boy says thinks North America is the future of darts. A bit like China and snooker. So we've got some fans growing over here as well.
No expectations there, right? We hope so too.
Paul says, what's the youth dart scene in North America like? Is there a JDC type setup?
Yeah, we're actually partners with the JDC, and so I'll let Anthony speak to this. This is one of his babies when we started it, so I'm not going to tread on that. Ant, take this one.
Yeah, we actually, we had a virtual weekend kickoff, but our on-site youth events kick off in a couple of weeks, and we actually run 2 levels, as Pete said. Coordinated with the JDC. We have a juniors, which is 17 and under, so it aligns just like the JDC tour. And then we have what we've nicknamed the Evolution Tour, and that's up to that 23, 24-ish level that the PDC has murkily established. And down to 14 or 16, depending upon, I forget what we've set, but we've kind of like set them to match those 2 particular ventures over in Europe, so our players can have the same development opportunities. Again, we don't offer as many events as they do over in Europe, but we're growing. We're still at, I think we're at 9 this year on each level. So some opportunities for players to come out, get that experience of playing. We try and make it as formal as we can, so they can start to be trained in that way, just like the JDC does some events. Our juniors do some round robin play. And then we ask a little bit more of the evolution players that are 17, 19. Now it's, dress code. Now it's, a proper bull, a little extended format, some 9s and 11s, really get their fill and experience of it. And then we've also been blessed with, just like we are on the top level, we're blessed with the associations to have those players have opportunities. So through our junior tour, we fill a Team USA and a Team Canada to go over to Gibraltar, compete in the JDC World Championships and World Cup. And then conversely, now we've got 2 opportunities for our evolution players, 2 from the United States, 2 from Canada, to play in the Winmore, PDC World Youth Championships. So at every level here in North America, you have an opportunity to compete and go overseas.
Yeah, the path internationally truly does go through CDC. There's no doubt about it.
I know the answer to this question, but I've got one off the back of it. Paul says, has there ever been a World Series event in Canada? If not, there should be. No, there hasn't. But obviously, you guys are always in talks with Matt and the PDC. How close are we to potentially having that North American doubleheader like we have in the Oceanic region?
I listen to this show all the time. I know this is a biggie with this crowd. They want Toronto the week after New York.
Yeah,
Correct.
So I'd be lying if I said there weren't conversations. But at the end of the day, it has to work financially for them as well. These things are not small events to put on. And so, having gotten a glimpse into, I look at what we did and I look at knowing what their expenses are and what it costs them. Like, you've got to be set up to make that happen. A lot of that comes down to sponsorship, right? And so, if you can sell it, you can do it. And so, it wouldn't surprise me to see that happen. But certainly, there's some things that have to happen before it can, if that makes sense. And I'm not going to be one to speak for Matt Porter, so you ask him that question.
Don't worry. So, am I being greedy and saying, can we have 3? Can we have Vegas, New York, Toronto?
I was going to say, and for Phil, let's tag on Vegas, because I know that's
and also,
we just send Phil to Vegas, and the rest of us will do the darts.
honestly, and this is now I'm probably going to go into the realm of Pete's going, be quiet and don't get us in trouble. But who thinks that wouldn't work if you did New York, Toronto, and Vegas? It would work, right?
I'm completely down for that.
Tell you what, Phil, if we were to maybe hypothetically have an event in Vegas at some possible hypothetical time in the future, hypothetically, you could come cover that hypothetical event.
Can you just WhatsApp me the dates when we're done?
Hypothetically, send you the dates in private. No.
If you get him a Vegas event, he's got to pay for me to come do the New York.
I'll take Toronto. It's fine. I'll take Toronto. We worked it.
An interesting one for you guys as well that came out from 2 players, obviously, I did the media stuff with, and they were talking about Matt Campbell's impact. Even though he wasn't there, he was the one that they're all shooting for now. And it was Jim Long that actually said, in his opinion, Matt's the best player to come out of North America since John Park. That's a huge statement.
I'll jump in the fire for you, Pete, because I see you're a little reticent over there. I don't want to go. I don't want to go that far with comparisons. I will keep it on Matt in that, again, it's sort of a conversation that you're eavesdropping in. Yeah, I think Matt is let's put it this way. Matt is about as solid as we've seen come out of North America in a long, long time. And I think when Matt gets the full traction under his feet, not that he hasn't already, but I think if he can get to that top 32 and those other places where the major and other televised opportunities come, and I'm well versed enough to know how that snowball starts rolling downhill. Opportunities lead to money on the order of merit, and so on and so forth. Keep you there. I think when Matt gets to that plateau, it's going to take quite a while for him to be nudged off of that. He's going to have a very substantial time in that spot.
Last one before we let you go. If I said to you, the pair of you, where would you like the CDC and Darts on North America to be in 2 years' time? If the live rounds, if we haven't been cancelled by then, if we're still doing this in 2 years' time, where would you guys like it to be?
So that's a really interesting open-ended question, mainly because we're really good at being 5 years into 2-year plans, Phil. But from my perspective, from the business end, we'd like to see 3 or 4 major events. We'd love to have the gambling aspect to be able to be wagered on, to be able to generate revenue that way, which enables us to do more bigger, intense things, to pay players more money, to really create that separation that we're trying to do, right? Anthony hit on something when we first started this, when he talked about the exclusivity and making those players put them on the pedestal we want them to be on. In order to be able to truly do that, you have to make it worth their while, right? You can't take away opportunities from players if you can't pay them what they need to be paid in order to do it. So there's a lot of moving parts there that I think we might be able able to crack. I think we're standing. I use in internal conversations and with business partners, I use the Sisyphus example, if you're familiar, right? Pushing the boulder up the mountain. And I think, my lips to God's ears, I think we're that close to getting it over the top and letting it kind of roll down. So that's kind of my 5-minute or 2-minute non-answer to your question.
Yeah, I concur in that, and it's all about it's a large reason of why we were committed to doing this past weekend, was to get the exposure of the potential of what the next level could be. So we wanted to try and capture the imagination of the mythical sponsor that we continually talk about, that would help raise this to everybody's levels of expectation. So that would interpret, a longer tour, more events with more prize money. So just as Pete touched on, it's a true payoff to more players committing to the tour over a longer period of time. So, and then interspersing that, as Pete said, we're very, very keen on expanding our sort of quote unquote majors and things that are highly televised and covered and in venues like the White Eagle, like that. The word I've been using when we first went to the White Eagle was, this is what North America deserves. And I hope everybody sees that. There's been so much work put in by the fans that truly love it, the players that have committed to it, and the organization. Like, this is where the game in North America deserves to go. And
you'll hear us make some announcements in the next week or so that I think you'll like, that will, opportunities that are presenting themselves now that can lead to exactly what Anthony and I just discussed. So
just, boys, you said it there. We need the mythical Ryder Cup tournament, and also the two. Can we have the mythical Ryder Cup and the Royal Rumble?
The mythical Ryder Cup isn't so mythical. It's drawn up in Anthony's little book of events.
Yeah. Oh.
he puts together the ideas that I have to finance, right?
You really got me. Oh man,
Anthony sounds like me for this show.
I can't
right, we need to do this.
Like, I
can't do that while I'm on screen. I'm like, but we're doing it.
I literally can't speak. Okay, the voice is back. I would have strongly, as I have sometimes privately, really said that that's a go before this weekend. It came out pretty well. I'm not saying we can't make some tweaks to the quote unquote Nations Cup thing, but it's like, part of me likes that, and especially what happened with Canada. Like, I kind of want to give the USA boys, and this is no, I make sure to have the little Canadian scarf up there, so things are even, a huge flag, little scarf. I don't know. But I kind of want to give the USA boys a crack at getting it back. What I like, what had developed is that we get a chance to do two events in the same weekend at this point, when we don't have tons of money to just easily put a second event on the calendar. Now, that's not to say that I still don't truly love the straight up Ryder Cup type of thing, where you've got an expanded roster and it's singles and doubles and maybe, trips or quads or something cool like that. So that's definitely still in the pipeline, but there was excitement enough with this that I can see us possibly staying with this maybe for at least another crack or two, and we'll see where it goes.
Don't let your mouth write checks that our company can't cash.
Oh, I know. I've been trying hard not to commit to this, But I mean, again, it's all about funding, and I hate to keep sounding like that, but I mean, there's a couple of great ideas and things that would be fantastic. Like, if we can substantiate this, we would also love to have another sort of season opening big event, like overseas, something to sort of signify the start of the year in a big way, in a showcased way, and give something for players to look at the end of the year, not just the tour finals and the Continental Cup. Look at the rankings and say, well, I can position myself for not only retaining my card, but I might be able to qualify into, said spring event, things like that.
You can kind of hybridize the Euro Tour format in that case. There's a lot of things you could do, but I want to say one more thing. When Anthony says, I hate to keep saying this, folks, I think it's important that we say this. The PDC Matchroom is a massive corporation. They've gotten there because they're good at the business side of it, right? This is a business. It has to succeed financially, or it doesn't succeed at all. We don't stay in business on Skittles and rainbows. It doesn't work that way. And so it's important that the people out there watching understand that at some level, when you put on events, if you love it, come spend a couple of bucks, come commit, because you're part of the whole plan. Obviously, advertisers and sponsors can do the majority of the lift, but you need people to commit to what they claim to love, and oftentimes that those two things don't gel, if that makes sense.
Right now, the most expensive notebook in darts must be Anthony's. Does them ideas? I want to hear all about it.
Can confirm, Lee. Can confirm.
I keep it in a locked safe.
If there's any multi-million-pound sponsor out there looking to buy a notebook, just let us know.
I bring it to every meeting we go to. Let's go, people. Just write the check, and we've got them in the pipeline.
Gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you both on talking all darts in North America. We love it here on the channel, and we'll continue to support you guys as always. But thank you very much for your live lounge debut, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you.
We
Phil,
appreciate
Lee,
you,
Jack. I'm on
Cheers,
with Gabi. I mean, my day is absolutely just been made whole.
The Godfather. We're not worthy. We're not worthy. Thanks, gentlemen. Sincerely appreciate it.